Now will we see the magic?
All right, where's Murray? Okay, who is it?
This is Jesus, kid.
Know then that it is the year 10,191.
Yes, we are bored. We're all bored now.
Hi, good night.
Good night.
Hello, and welcome to Mary versus the Movies with your host, Mary Jones.
Dennis Lang.
Really?
Yep.
Just flat affect?
Yep.
Okay. Just gonna let that go. Yeah. Totally. You know what? You threw me off.
Sorry, Mary.
Oh, no. You're not gonna spend the whole podcast doing that.
I'll forget.
Thank God. Thank God. Yeah, so welcome to episode 54, Romancing the Stone.
Woo!
So have you seen this?
Yeah.
Okay. I know my mother watched it. I know she rented it from a little video rental place that was across the street from us when I was a kid. All I remember about it is walking into the room, saying, "That's not Indiana Jones," and leaving.
And you were right.
I am right. But I also think I was picking up on something, right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. That's what I'm kind of curious about.
This movie is obviously copying from Tales of the Gold Monkey.
No, wait. What year is Tales of the Gold Monkey?
Oh, that definitely came after Indiana
Okay.
Raiders, but
No, because that's a whole thing, and I might talk about that in the after portion, or I might talk about it here. I'm kind of interested in that whole genre of stuff. Indiana Jones is obviously the best version of that.
Yep.
And Indiana Jones itself is obviously heavily influenced by serials from the 30s.
What's that 50s movie that it just copies directly?
Yeah, it's like The Secrets of the Incas or something.
Yeah, and is it Charlton Heston?
It's Charlton Heston, and he's basically dressed how Harrison Ford
Exactly
dresses.
the
Yeah,
same.
it's really weird. I think they borrow a little bit from, oh gosh, what is that movie with Cary Grant in South America?
Yeah. Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah, what is that called? Oh, Only Angels Have Wings.
Yeah.
Only Angels Have Wings. That's a good movie. It's a Howard Hawks film.
Yep.
And I feel like Spielberg is definitely taking some of the mood of that. Mm-hmm. Not the actual like plots or anything like that, but there's something about the look of that movie that definitely carries over as well.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, it's not the Cary Grant
No, it's
that
not
we're
my
used to.
No. It's
But
not my
it's still a good movie.
Yes. I do feel like that was also kind of an important. But I mean, see, something like Only Angels Have Wings is obviously an influence on something like Tales of the Gold Monkey, and then later the Disney cartoon Tailspin, which I loved when I was a kid. It's set in like kind of an animal version of the 1930s. There are references to the Great War was 20 years ago. There are evil pigs who represent the Nazis. There are flying pirates in like airplanes and stuff, air pirates. And it's all centered around like Baloo, the bear, has a cargo company that he flies planes and stuff. Anyway, but it's heavily influenced by the same stuff that like Tales of the Gold Monkey is coming from, and it all goes back to like Indiana Jones.
Yeah.
So obviously, I got the impression that Romancing the Stone is also rooted in that, though it's set in the 1980s, I assume.
I think, yeah.
I don't know, but I just assume that it's set in the 1980s, and it is set, what, in South America?
Yep.
Okay, because I know they're in a jungle.
Mm-hmm.
Now, because it's the 1980s, America, yeah, we had a whole series of dirty wars down there. You know, you've got your whole Iran-Contra thing going on, the drug situation, our support of, I don't know, people like Noriega, Pinochet, you know, some really bad stuff.
Yeah, not great.
No. We have a horrible history in that time period. So I'm always a little nervous when I see that things are set in South America, Latin America, because we're not the good guys. So I have no idea what, like...
As evidenced by Vibes.
No, yeah, there you go.
Exhibit A.
Yeah, exactly.
The terrible... One of our crimes.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No.
Sorry, Vibes fans. We still love you.
We do, but you know, Vibes definitely fits into the same. Well, Vibes is another movie that is obviously coming from the same I don't know, vibe.
Just like with the 70s always trying to recapture Star Wars towards the end, like the 80s was also trying to do the same thing with Raiders.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
I feel like this is the movie where they finally, we did it.
Oh, so is it a good movie?
It is.
Okay, see, that's what
I mean, there's a sequel and there's a reason.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough.
It actually has things different. There's a different vibe.
Okay. So I'm kind of excited then.
Yeah.
Because I mean it's
I don't want to oversell it.
No. But if I'm expecting and hoping for a fun movie that's just basically an adventure story with, I guess, a dash of romance.
Oh.
Well, it's called Romancing the Stone. I mean, I don't know. Oh, wait. Okay, again, it's Latin America.
Yeah.
It's Americans in Latin America.
It's the 80s.
It's the 80s. How much does cocaine play into a subplot? Not into the making,
right?
Because that's everything in the 80s. I'm talking about just like, is cocaine just for whatever reason a subplot of the story? Is it involved? I'm just going into this assuming because of everything else involved, somewhere there's cocaine or drugs of some kind, but usually cocaine.
Okay, so you know who's all in this. Right?
I know it's Michael Douglas, Kathleen Turner, and you told me that Danny DeVito's in it.
Right.
And that's all I know.
Okay.
And
so based on that, what do you think is going to happen?
I do know one thing. I know that Kathleen Turner plays like a romance novelist. And I don't know why she's in Latin America, but I assume that Michael Douglas is somehow like, I guess, her guide for whatever this trip she's on. Maybe she's doing research. I don't know. I assume that he's her guide down there, and he has to rescue her at some point. I am positive there's like a damsel in distress thing going on. I don't know what Danny DeVito's thing is. I assume that he's some sort of like scummy side character who is like an associate of, like, I don't think he's the villain. I don't assume he's the villain. I assume that he's. Do you ever see LA Confidential?
Yeah.
You remember how he was kind of like the scuzzy side character to Kevin Spacey?
Right.
Kind of the same idea.
Okay.
I assume it's kind of that thing.
And in Johnny Dangerously.
And he's the corrupt DA.
Yeah.
Which is great. So yeah, this is 84. This is DeVito would have just come off Taxi, I guess. Michael Douglas was already well known, probably. Or is this like kind of where he gets known? Like, is this before Fatal Attraction, which by the way, I think we are going to put on our list?
I think it is.
Okay, so he's known.
Or maybe around the same time, I'm not sure.
All right.
But yeah.
So like DeVito's already known from television. Michael Douglas was on television and then moved to movies. And I don't really know Kathleen Turner's career right here. Was she well known? Was she not? At any rate, anything else?
Nope.
All right.
I'm sorry. Nope.
Oh boy. It's great. You did forget really quickly.
I always do.
Yeah. Thank God. All right. You ready to go watch the movie?
Yep.
All right.
I'm romancing the stone, never leaving your poor heart alone. Every night and every day, gonna love the hurting away.
And that was a song by Eddie Grant, whose song was not used in the movie.
So I had no idea that this is a Robert Zemeckis film.
That immediately changed your tone.
Well, not that I went in with a reluctant tone or anything.
Yeah.
But that was a complete shock to me. I don't know that Zemeckis has any auteur elements other than he loves tech.
Right.
And this is not very tech heavy.
He's capable.
Sometimes. Yeah. Well, no, okay, here's the thing. Robert Zemeckis has made one of my favorite movies ever and one of my most hated movies ever.
And both are Polar Express.
No, definitely not. Although that is a low man.
Sorry. Sorry, just pushing your buttons.
Yeah, no, you really are.
No, I know you're not a fan of Polar Express.
God, no. No, one of my absolute favorite movies of all time is Who Framed Roger Rabbit. Possibly his best movie?
Equally one of your favorite films is Back to the Future.
Oh, sure, sure.
That's two on his list.
Yeah, no. I'm getting to that. Okay. I'm getting to that.
Sorry.
Zemeckis is a guy who, some of his films, I think, have been really, really good. One film has been truly great. One film is one of the movies I've seen more than almost anything, probably.
Yeah.
I don't know how many times I've watched Back to the Future, but kind of the same thing with Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
And I will say Who Framed Roger Rabbit is probably underrated still.
Oh.
Even with, like, as people still kind of praise it now, but it probably still could use more praise.
Because I think people write off the fact that it's animation.
Yeah.
And they don't take it seriously, but it's a really great movie. It is an excellent example of neo-noir. It's heavily indebted, obviously, to Chinatown, but in a way that doesn't feel weird. It's actually, and much like Chinatown, it uses actual California history and conspiracy and corruption and turns it into an extremely entertaining film. And of course, the difference between Roger Rabbit and Chinatown is one has a happy ending because it is made it's made by Touchstone and it features cartoons, but it's a really great movie.
But I think like all like great films like that, it's indebted to a lot of other things.
Yes.
It's not just like a remake of Chinatown for kids.
No, it isn't. It absolutely is not. He's also made some of my least loved. I mean, I hate Forrest Gump so much. I hate everything about that film.
You do.
It is one of the most right-wing reactionary and like syrupy and like everything about it. I hate so much about. I don't even know where to begin.
You know what? I'm really glad that Zemeckis and Michael Douglas found each other early on.
Yes.
Before he was at the height of his powers.
Oh God.
I kind of cringe at thinking of what those two could have made in the 90s.
Yeah. Oh no. Yeah. That. Ugh. So, Romancing the Stone, however, is a fun movie. In terms of good Zemeckis movies, it's definitely one of the good ones, even though it has some issues.
Yeah.
Big old issues. I don't know that it's a better movie than Castaway. Probably the last Zemeckis movie I actually enjoyed. Although I never saw Flight.
Castaway is mostly a good movie, but the whole FedEx commercial
that's terrible.
aspect of it is,
Yeah.
it like kind of takes it out of it for me. Like there's parts of it I'm just like, oh jeez.
That is extremely yes, you are absolutely right. That part is not good.
Like it's like a great movie mixed with You've Got Mail, which is one of my most hated films.
Oh boy, I am right there with you, honey. I hate that. I hate You've Got Mail on a lot of different levels. I'm not even sure who made that movie, if that's like a Nora Ephron or what. But I really, it's weird because I like Tom Hanks.
Yeah.
I like Tom Hanks as an actor. I will watch him in things that I don't really want to watch.
And I don't mind like product placement. Like I don't have a problem with like the Reese's peanut.
Oh, you're such a capitalist. Wait, Reese's peanut butter.
The Reese's bits in E.T.
Oh, Reese's. I thought you said racist.
No. The Reese's peanut butter in E.T.
I was like, wow, I do not remember that part of the movie.
You weren't paying attention.
Obviously not.
No. But I'm just saying it can work if it's like not like the center of things or something. But like when it's too obvious, like like we always have to get our packages on time no matter what happens. 3 years at Lost at Sea. Like, I'm just like ugh.
Yeah, that sucks. That seriously sucks. So yeah, when I saw this with Zemeckis, I was kind of like, well, this might be really good. And I might hate this. I don't know what it's going to be, because this is like Zemeckis basically kicking off a time period where he was a big hit maker. And the two films he does right after this, I love. They're two of my favorite movies ever. So I, went into this kind of like, oh, okay, what's this going to be? I don't know. And I come out the other side and I go, there are definitely some issues, but there's also some stuff that I really like in it. And Kathleen Turner in this is so good. She is just so perfect in this movie. I love her so much. I am not a Michael Douglas person, to put it kindly. I just, he's not my cup of tea. He just holds no attraction for me.
So I have a thought about why this movie works.
Why?
Okay, so for one thing,
it's got Danny DeVito.
But also everyone in this movie is over 30. Like I was looking at the acting list. Like Kathleen Turner was 30.
Okay.
Zemeckis was 33. And Michael Douglas and Danny DeVito were both 40. And this movie has for Michael Douglas, he produced it.
Yeah.
and it has such Steely Dan, like midlife crisis vibes.
Oh God!
You know?
Oh, you're right.
Like he's like I want to be a movie star, and I didn't really realize he was more known for being in Streets of San Francisco.
Yeah.
He was a TV star at the time. TV stars just didn't become movie stars. Like it was a major line.
Yeah, I mean Tom Hanks was able to do it, but that's pretty rare.
But in Michael Douglas's case, he's Kirk Douglas's son. Kirk Douglas was this actor from like the 50s who he was well regarded, but he also was like, I am not going to do what the studio is telling me. I'm going to take control of my own career. Probably more than almost any actor.
Yeah,
he did that.
Because he was in Spartacus, and
he hired Trumbo.
Oh, Dalton Trumbo, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he worked a lot with Kubrick, and, he had a real movie career.
So Kubrick is where I'm going with this. Part of controlling his career, he was like, I'm going to take this, noir weirdo director. I like his stuff. I'm going to have him make movies for me. So he brings him into Spartacus. Kubrick is like, okay, I am directing Spartacus.
Yeah.
He
what am I doing here?
I know. But then he does Paths of Glory, and I forget which one came first, but
yeah, I don't remember, but yeah, they
but
worked.
But Kubrick was basically brought into prominence by Kirk Douglas. Like without Kirk Douglas, we probably wouldn't. He would just be like an indie director that we never heard of.
That's true. Yeah.
And I think the same thing happened with Michael Douglas. He's like, I want to make a film. I'm going to take this director that the studios don't like. Because he had 2 flops.
Oh, God, not only did he have 2 flops, he apparently wrote the script for 1941. Talk about a shaky track record.
I'm thinking that he saw this the same way, like, I think Kirk Douglas saw Kubrick films. He's like, I'm going to have a great director make me look good. Essentially a vanity project.
Oh.
And so there was an initial cut of this movie that was shown to the producers, and they hated it. It was terrible. And it sounds like it did not feature Kathleen Turner a lot. Like it was, for one thing, there was no cat. She was just this lonely writer.
Oh no!
And so I think what it was is like, here comes the dashing Indiana Jones, saving the day, and it's just like, how great is this guy? And I think Zemeckis was like, oh wait, I can fix this, and he went in and made her more of a character.
Oh, wow.
That's what I'm assuming happened. And
Okay.
I think that he kind of changed the direction of the movie to make it more her film than his film.
Because it is definitely her film.
Yeah, and that's what works about it. I think what works about Michael Douglas is that he wants to be a star. He wants to be an action movie star. He wants to be Bruce Willis. No one buys it.
No.
No one looking at him and thinks like, oh, this guy is like a sexy action star. This is Harrison Ford. This is who we want to be. Like, no one ever buys this.
Absolutely not.
But somehow it kind of works because like he's so earnest about it, and like, I don't know, there's something about him that works.
He works in this film, I think, because he's a bit scummy.
Yeah.
And Michael Douglas just kind of gives off that I'm a sleazy boomer vibe.
Oh yeah.
And
yeah, he is a walking Steely Dan song.
I mean, it's actually kind of why he works as Hank Pym.
Yeah.
He finally gets to be an action hero, sort of. Yeah, let's let Paul Rudd do all the work, But yeah, no, that's really interesting. I did not know that, Michael Douglas, I mean, I saw that he produced it. I hadn't really thought about the implications of, that. Because this is her movie. This absolutely is her story. Right down to the fact that, I brought up the whole, I guess she's going to be a damsel in distress. They completely subvert that at the end, which is great.
But I think a lot of this movie is people like kind of going against so Kathleen Turner, she was trying to break out from being a femme fatale. Uh-huh. She was in
Body Heat?
Body Heat,
which is on our list. I haven't seen it.
But she was also in The Man with Two Brains.
Oh, that is also on our list.
So she was trying to break out of, like it's just being pigeonholed as like just the hot, vamp or whatever.
But that's why it's so great that this movie starts with her in her apartment with her hair pulled up, and she's just wearing a flannel nightgown the whole time.
Yeah.
And she's totally hot doing that.
Yeah.
Like she's extremely attractive just walking around looking more like I look. Dowdy. Great, I've got 10 years and 100 pounds on her, but
talking to her cat.
Yeah, well, a lot of that.
Yeah.
But she, even in the beginning, like she looks great.
Yeah.
Because in part because she looks normal.
Mm-hmm.
that's the other thing that got me in watching this movie is just how normal she looks in this. Not that she looks abnormal or anything, like, but she's always kind of in the 80s. She's so stunning.
Yeah. And
the early part of the film, she's not overpoweringly stunning.
But also when she when she is dressed up later on, like early on, she's still it's kind of like Christopher Reeves as Clark Kent. Like she still doesn't know how to, smolder.
No, and in fact, the movie
her character doesn't. But.
Yeah, no, you're right, because the movie is really good at that. She doesn't get to that point. She has her hair pulled back the entire film until the day they go to the festival in the town, and she changes out of the rags that her clothes have fallen apart into, and she puts on like the local peasant skirt and all that stuff, and she puts her hair down. And then the rest of the film, she has her hair down and she looks, much more smoldering and much more like you picture her, know. But the film lets it build up to that point. She has to build up to that. And it does it really well.
She has mud poured on her head.
But she also starts wielding the machete.
Yeah.
It gives her stuff to do to get to that point. And the one thing that I found kind of interesting is Danny DeVito is not quite Danny DeVito how we usually think of him. Because he's kind of the third wheel in this, and he is actually kind of a villain.
You said he was not the bad guy, but he sort of is one of the bad guys.
Yeah.
But like a reluctant bad guy.
He's just he's kind of a henchman who, doesn't, I don't know. He it's a certain type of character that people like to write, which is, I'm one of the bad guys, but I'm not the bad guy. Yeah. And, I'm doing this, but I'm not as dumb as the guy I'm working for. And I'm also not as ruthless necessarily as the guy I'm working for, but I'm also in this jam, and I kind of got to do the thing I got to do because he's not a boss. He's in a subordinate position throughout the entire thing, so he has a slightly different. He doesn't have the same edge he usually has when he's playing, Louis on Taxi, or Frank on It's Always Sunny, or hell, the Penguin. My favorite role of his. He doesn't have the kind of cockiness that he has in all of his other characters because he's always off-footed.
I feel like there's a couple roles like this where there's an initial bad guy who's like a reluctant bad guy. And it's almost like he's written just so he can be a good guy in a later film.
Yeah, that does seem, that is a thing, like the reformed villain.
Like Joe Pesci, I think, was that in the Lethal Weapon films.
Oh, I see what you mean. Now, again, I haven't seen Lethal Weapon, so I don't know what happens with him.
That's not really a spoiler.
No, it's not, because I know he comes back in the other films, but I don't know what he was in the first movie, so... Yeah.
You can't really spoil Lethal Weapon. It's it's the most formulaic thing in the world.
Now, what's funny is originally Danny DeVito's character was going to be Bob Hoskins, I think, but for whatever reason, Hoskins couldn't do it.
Yeah,
and of course
you could see it.
Yeah, you could see how it might have been Hoskins. Of course, he went and was in Who Framed Roger Rabbit, and he's fantastic in that. So
and should have been Wolverine.
He should have been Wolverine. Yeah, but we did get him as Mario.
Yeah.
So which works for me. That's not a good movie, but I like him as Mario. It is not a good movie.
Would Mario have worked if it was a musical?
Whoa.
And we know he can sing. Well, sort of sing.
Oh, no. Now I got to think about that. Wait, what? We know he can sing.
Oh, from Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
He's not. That's patter. That's not singing.
Yeah, well, it
when he's throwing the bowling balls and stuff.
Yeah.
That's not. That is patter. That is, which is fine. I like stage. I'm just
saying
song,
you can get him to patter. Is what I'm saying.
But now you're getting into like a Robert Preston sort of situation.
These turtles are getting on my nerves.
Oh God.
Where's my mushroom?
I want to see that. You know what? It's so sad that we lost him.
Yeah.
Because the world deserved to have that.
Yeah.
So Kathleen Turner plays Joan Wilder, very successful romance novelist who lives in New York City. And oh my God, can you imagine what that apartment would cost now? 1983 in New York, a normal person could live there probably. I've got to imagine it's got to be like $5,000 at this point.
Oh, this is a worldwide bestseller, whatever she's writing.
Oh
I
no,
guess.
she can afford it. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm just saying, like even then though, you could probably get in that. You could never afford that place now.
Yeah.
Especially because it has a fireplace. Even oh my god, I'm so envious of her apartment. But she lives alone with her cat, even though she writes all these romance novels that are huge sellers and people love
we
them.
do get to see a romance story in the very beginning.
Oh yeah, it's funny. The movie starts kind of in a fun way, in a completely different genre. It starts as a Western, which is her narrating the end of her latest novel. Zemeckis gets to play with genre here, where he does like this little 5 minutes of a Western. And it's a lot of fun. You know,
it would be a great movie, like on its own.
I would love to see the sexy Western that this movie is alluding to. Like,
I guess Quick and the Dead is probably someone like that. I haven't seen it.
oh, see, I haven't seen Quick and the Dead. Yeah. So, but yeah, I want to watch this this Western. So it starts off with that, and then of course it cuts to this is Kathleen Turner, you know, talking to herself as she's ending the novel, and then she celebrates with her cat by opening up a can of wet food and. I seen it. Doesn't she like light a candle? Like it's straight up like the cat food commercial from the 80s.
Yeah,
Fancy Feast, I think. Yeah, but at the same time, I'm just kind of like, yeah, lady, celebrate. You know, she seems very happy. Here's the thing: I think the idea is supposed to be that she's like a lonely cat lady, but you don't get the vibe that she's unhappy. Actually, she seems very happy writing. Like later, her and her publisher go out to a bar to kind of celebrate, and she's just like looking at the other guys and. Every one of them, there's something wrong. And, you know, fair enough. Trying to pick up guys at a bar does not sound like a good time.
Yeah.
You're not, that's not a fun way to meet people.
And man, the one guy that her friend was into, the publisher. Like,
yeah. They put all these tropes in there, but, like, I'm not buying it. She gets a package from her sister who's down in Colombia with her husband and finds out that
Well, actually, by now we know her husband has already been killed.
Yeah.
And that a piece of him was found.
Joan's sister is down in Colombia. We don't know why she's down there. We know that the husband went missing and a piece has been mailed back. So the husband's obviously dead. The sister is being held hostage. And as she was out celebrating, somebody came and messed up the entire apartment. They were obviously searching for whatever package she got in the mail. And, you know, to cut to the chase, she was mailed by the sister a map to a thing. We don't know what the thing is.
It says El Corazon.
Which means the heart.
Yeah.
So there's something called the heart. We don't know what it is exactly.
It's a journey of self-discovery.
Well, it is that, but it's also, of course, what the heart ends up being, you know, is a giant emerald in the shape of a heart.
Yeah, which is glowing in a very 80s way.
Oh, it's great.
It's
I
like
love
a very
it.
Goonies type.
It's so luscious.
Glowing, yeah.
But anyway, so she finds out her sister is being held hostage and she has to go down to Colombia with the package in order to get her back. And essentially, somebody's kidnapped her for the map because they want the jewel. Although she does not know what the jewel is. She doesn't really know what any of this is about. She goes down to Colombia. And, of course, this is where problems ensue because she lives perfectly fine in Manhattan and does not understand that you're going to, you know, a country where they don't have, like, I don't know, great infrastructure if you leave the city. In the city, you're fine. But if you leave, it's not going to be great. You know, it's like, I don't know, going to upstate Pennsylvania, but somehow the roads are probably better paved. So... yeah, Colombia in the 80s, well, Colombia in general, like since the 60s, has been a really, they've had some troubles. It's been complicated.
But there are, you know, there's different parts of the country. It's not like it's all like a big drug den.
No. And I don't want to imply that either. But, you know, when you have leftist guerrillas, right-wing paramilitary organizations and warlords, and a government that, you know, is being, you know, propped up by the CIA. It's dicey. You know, you've got groups like the FARC and, you know, who are like a Marxist revolutionary army and stuff. And you've got lots and lots of drug lords, and it's all very complicated. And, you know, the United States has, you know, not made things better.
But I wouldn't expect Hollywood to have a nuanced view of this.
In fact, here's the thing. Here's what I got watching this. I was thinking, well, are they going to do like some sort of, you know, this is all the fault of those Marxist guerrillas in the jungle? And like, no, the film does not have a very coherent idea of what it, or is it's not even trying to say anything about what's happening in Colombia. It just happens to be like, hey, it's a jungle and we know it's like vaguely dangerous from television. Let's just set a story there.
Yeah,
It really
Vibes had a closer like.
Oh my God! Right?
Like,
Yeah.
that was closer to Ecuador than
this is to Colombia. For one thing, it's filmed in Mexico. They don't film it in Colombia. They tried to film it in Colombia, and there was a spike in kidnappings of Americans, so they said, Mexico.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's probably the better decision, actually. What I found interesting is they said it in Colombia, but they never bring up, the cocaine trade or anything like that. And they don't really bring up...
Actually, they bring up weed.
They bring up weed of all things, which just seems sort of like, okay, fine, but that's not what people think of when they think about, And yeah, they don't bring up the running battles between the far-right paramilitaries and these leftist guerrillas. They don't bring up any of that. It's just sort of, it's a vaguely dangerous place. And this one guy, Zolo, is some sort of, I don't know, warlord / he is a government official, but he also has a private army. And he is just kind of like a mask changing villain. He kind of is whatever the movie needs him to be. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, it's not exactly a nuanced or even vaguely informed film about the conditions in Colombia in the 80s.
To be honest, like, it's so vague. They should have probably just called it, like...
A fake country?
A fake country of some kind. I don't know
I mean, they could have. They could have made it a
'cause-
fake. Like, don't they do that in Commando?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, and I think that may have been the smarter thing. The other thing that kind of then... And this is where I was saying, yeah, it's got some issues. There aren't really a whole lot of speaking roles for anybody who's a local.
No.
But at the same time, it's not like the entire time they're in Colombia, it's depicted as this horrible place either. Yeah. It's just that everybody who's supposed to be Colombian, in reality Mexican, they're just kind of background people the whole time. And so that's its own kind of issue. Or they're a villain, or they're Juan, and I don't know how we're supposed to take him. Although he is a trip. It's like, I appreciate that, hey, it's a jungle story and it's, that has its own problems and connotations. But there are whole parts of the film where the background people, they're just kind of people. Like, there are times when they're in the town, they're at a fiesta. And it's not like, that's depicted as particularly dangerous.
Except for Danny DeVito.
Well, no, exactly. The one person who's dangerous is Danny DeVito. And
no, remember the woman beats him?
Hey, that woman was in the right.
I know.
Because he was under her table, and she does not know why.
And look at it, it's Danny DeVito.
It's Danny
He's
DeVito.
the scummy-looking guy.
Yes. Danny DeVito in a Panama hat, crawling around under your table. Yeah, he's gonna get beat up.
Yeah, that was such like a 50s or 40s type joke.
I was fine with it. I was totally fine with that. No. Yeah, so she goes down to Colombia and she gets on the wrong bus because she's supposed to go to this hotel in Cartagena. And
I think Zolo puts her on that bus.
Yeah, Zolo has been following her, and he's the one who had her apartment messed up, and he is following her because she has the map. Everybody knows that she has the map. Danny DeVito, I think, gets clued in that she has the map, and he's trying to get a hold of her because he's the one, his cousin, I should say, is the one who has her sister. Yeah. So it turns out her sister is being held captive by this guy, Ira, who we don't really know what his deal is. We just know he's got money, and he lives on a boat in Cartagena in Colombia.
It's implied that he and Danny DeVito's character, Ralph, so they're cousins, and they've been like robbing trinkets for a while now, and Ralph says, like, we could retire now. We don't have to keep doing this because he doesn't like the whole kidnapping thing. But.
Yeah, he's fine with them, like, basically treasure hunting, but he doesn't want to get into kidnapping. But Ira decided we have to kidnap. And so I guess the idea is that the brother-in-law, who is dead, came across the map. So he must have been like a treasure hunter as well. Yeah. And sent it off to keep it away from Ira. So they kidnapped the sister. And that's where we are. They have the sister. They want the map. Zolo knows about the map and wants it as well. And Joan's the one who's got the map. So everybody's trying to get a hold of Joan. And so Zolo, sends her on the wrong bus because he's going to essentially isolate her and kill her and get the map. and
We've
doesn't.
already seen him kill her landlord, by the way.
Yeah, that's right. Oh God, that's right. No, that was the janitor.
Janitor, yeah.
Yeah, that was horrible. Like he's pretty quick to kill people. The bus has an accident. It hits a truck full of chickens, I guess, or birds or something.
Exotic birds.
Was it exotic birds? Okay.
Yeah.
I for whatever reason that went over my
It's
head.
like $15,000 of birds, he said.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was too high for chickens, but I wasn't gonna, like you look at the price of meat these days now.
Yeah.
And the reason the bus crashes is because she was pestering the bus driver, saying, "Wait, is this am I on the right bus to go to Cartagena?" And the idea, she doesn't speak any Spanish, she doesn't know what she's doing. She's definitely the fish out of water. Everybody gets off the bus and they're walking to the next village because there's not going to be another bus. But Zolo, because she doesn't know any better, she listens to him. Zolo tells Joan, well, don't worry, there'll be another bus. We can just wait here. At which point he then is going to attack her and get the map from her. What stops him is there is a guy on the ridge.
Yeah, shadowy figure with a shotgun is shooting at him just like Jesse did in the story in the beginning.
Oh, that's right.
It's
yes.
the exact same situation where she's like about to be attacked and then is saved by this shadowy man with well, it should be a rifle, but he's somehow shooting a shotgun.
Yeah, I know. That's like, that doesn't work.
Anyone that's shot a shotgun knows this would not.
No.
This is not a precision instrument.
No, it is not.
She would have like bullets in her face.
Exactly.
Pellets in her face.
This, in terms of what he's actually doing, it makes no sense whatsoever.
But I'm sure like Michael Douglas is probably, yeah, shotgun, that sounds cool.
This looks very manly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ugh. So this is when Michael Douglas shows up and scares off Zolo.
He tries to leave her. He's like, I don't want
right.
anything to do with you. And she offers him money, and eventually they bargain. It's like a long bargaining sequence. Eventually ends up with she's offering $375 in traveler's checks.
They begin their adventure in the jungle to rescue the sister, but then he convinces her to let's actually use the map and get whatever the treasure is, and then we can have the treasure and then give them the map anyway, and they can go and look for it. You've got your sister, then we've got the treasure, and I can get my sailboat to sail around the world, because that's all he wants. Is he just wants money to get on a sailboat and sail away.
And during this time, they're being chased by Zolo and at first cops, and then later like a private army.
Yeah, because Zolo, he is some sort of official, but he's also got his own private army, and
he's a vague bad guy.
He's just sort of a vaguely a bad guy with a lot of guys who work for him. So while they're trying to evade Zolo, they come to a village and they encounter a drug lord named Juan, who is played by Alfonso Arau, who we last saw in The Three Amigos.
Yeah.
So he's kind of fun. They're basically come to this village looking for any kind of a car or a phone or something, and
he's essentially the same character as
kind of, yeah.
in that he's presented as this big bad drug lord guy, but he's
supposed to be terrifying.
But he has a surprising
He loves Joan's novels.
Yeah.
He likes to read the books to his henchmen on Sundays. So everybody's just like, oh, this is the lady who writes the books. This is great. And the whole thing is just kind of played for comedy. It's like, he's supposed to be scary and sinister at first, but he's ultimately like, yeah, no, I'll help you out. They ask if he has a car. He's like, no, I've just got my mule. And the mule, it turns out to be one of those big 4x4 trucks with the big wheels. Mm-hmm. So I
think Pepe.
He calls it Pepe, the mule, and he drives them to outrun Zola. Basically, he drives them over the river that otherwise can't be crossed because he's built this kind of little drawbridge thing. Yeah. So he saves them.
Dukes of Hazzard jump.
Oh, yeah. It's Dukes of Hazzard, but actually kind of the grade that they put it at and the way that they do it is kind of smart, so that it's not totally unrealistic that they could maybe get a good jump on that thing. Yeah. So it's funny because it's
Are you saying that Dukes of Hazzard isn't realistic?
I would never imply that at all.
I saw those jumps.
Yeah, I saw them too.
Yeah. And Roscoe wasn't man enough to make those jumps. Also, during all this, Jack, Michael Douglas's character, he keeps looking for a Xerox machine because he secretly wants to Xerox the map and go off on his own to get the jewel.
But they don't really do anything with that in the end because he ends up, they just go and get the jewel together.
Yeah, but I think what it sets up is that she doesn't really trust him until the very end.
And she shouldn't.
Yeah.
Oh, he's not trustworthy at all.
Mm-hmm. Even though his middle name is trustworthy, he
God.
says. But while in a plane full of burning weed.
They finally get out of the jungle and they spend a day in a village where they're having like, it looks like there's a big town fiesta or something. Mm-hmm. And this is like their big romantic moment. And they end up in bed together. And what I have to say is one of the most amazing like sexual choreographies in film because they're both naked. All right. Yeah. And she is laying under him. Okay. And you can see the entire side of her body and you never once see a nipple.
Nope.
They are so well placed.
Zemeckis is a magician.
I was like, I truly was amazed by how they did this. This is what kept it a PG-13 probably. I mean, I assume it was a PG-13.
Yeah, I don't know.
You know what? I don't know what it was.
It's hard to find that out anymore. Like that's not as big a deal these days.
You know, that is kind of funny, isn't it? Yeah. I have no idea what this was rated, but you know, if it was a true like rated R movie, which it doesn't feel like a rated R movie, although I guess my grasp of what is and isn't rated R anymore is kind of.
I guess there is cursing.
There's cursing, but it's not even
could get you an R back then.
Well, but it depends on how much it depends. Even then, it all depends on a lot of factors.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was really impressed with that. But even as they're doing that, even as you know they're in bed together, you see his hand trying to get the map and to steal it.
Oh no! What happens there?
Yeah. So what is going on with that?
So what happened there?
I was too dazzled by the lack of nipples.
So like while they're talking, is she's like, you know what? I want you to have that boat. Why don't we go together to get the map or to get the treasure? She's like, we both saw this tree that showed that's where it's on the map.
Yeah.
And when she says that, he's like, oh, he had already stolen the map.
Oh, that's
and
what was going on.
He put it back in her purse.
Oh,
yeah.
Somehow I missed that. Yeah.
So I think his plan, he was going to go Xerox it.
Right.
Because he asked if there was a Xerox machine.
Yeah.
And his plan was to Xerox it and then put it back so she could exchange it for her sister, and he would go and find it himself.
Right. Because her whole thing was she wasn't going to look for the jewel.
Right. But when she said, like, let's go together, he's like, yeah, I'll put this back in.
That's what was going on. Man, I missed an entire important plot point somehow.
And apparently, like, she was saying that, like, his direction, like, he's more of a technical guy who's, like, more into, like, camera lenses and that kind of thing. He was just kind of telling her, like, you know, how to place her body in scenes, and she was like, I can't work this way. Like, this is not directing.
I was gonna say he's not really about finding people's emotions. I don't think.
Yeah, you can tell that in Polar Express, like, emotions is not a thing that matters high to him.
No, those are some dead eyes, man.
Yeah.
Oh. They get the jewel, and of course, once they've got the jewel, then Zolo has been following them, and Ralph has been following them. Michael Douglas has the jewel. She has the map. She's like, you know what? I don't have the jewel, but I have the map. I can still get my sister. So they go back. She goes back to Cartagena, ends up, I guess, with Ira, and says, you know what? Here's the map. Please just let me have my sister back. And he actually does acquiesce. He's just like, yeah, I got what I wanted. Here, you can have your sister back. And you think this is going to be the end, but of course it's not, because Zolo shows up and he's like, look, I know you have the jewel. I don't care about the map. Just give me the jewel. Well, she doesn't have the jewel, of course.
Yeah.
So then we end up with an entire sequence of, how is she going to get the sister and escape Zolo?
Oh, he's about to feed her to a crocodile, and then that's when
Michael Douglas shows up again.
Oh, I have the jewel.
He has the jewel, and of course, it's a very dumb joke.
What?
Well, if you remember, he confesses to having the jewel. A soldier shoves their rifle in his junk.
Yeah.
And he kind of doubles over and then stands up, and then the jewel slides out the bottom of his pants.
Yeah.
Very, very adult humor, I guess.
Yeah.
Very sophisticated. Although honestly, in a film that's mostly like not bad, like to have that one really dumb joke is between that and the joke where they go down the mudslide and he ends up between her. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's another Yeah, there's a couple of crude jokes in this movie, which is fine, but it's kind of like it feels a little forced in a movie where most of it isn't crude jokes.
And it feels like Michael Douglas really enjoyed them.
Yeah, I wonder if he's the one who wrote those particular jokes, just given his story about how he thinks he got oral cancer.
Oh, God.
Yeah. Like, I'm not against those kinds of jokes. It's just kind of like, oh, that felt wedged in.
Yeah.
So then there's a fight over the jewel, who has the jewel. But what I like is, so Michael Douglas has the jewel, and he throws it at Zolo, who is dangling Joan over the crocodile pit. And in order to get the jewel, of course, Zolo puts out his hand and leaves go of Joan, grabs the jewel as it falls towards the crocodiles, catches it, and immediately, I'm sorry, they're not crocodiles. I guess they're alligators.
He said crocodiles.
Yeah, but they should be... The point is, I'm not sure if they're alligators or crocodiles, but if it's South America, wouldn't they be alligators?
I don't know.
The point is, they've Captain Hook him.
Yeah.
Zolo's hand gets bitten off. So that's pretty great. So Michael Douglas then spends, a good 5 minutes fighting with an alligator, trying to, hold onto this gator so it doesn't slink back into the water so that he can get the jewel out of the gator. And meanwhile, Zolo is basically like, well, I'm just going to have to kill you now. So he goes to kill Joan. And there's this entire sequence where, like, she's on top of a tower with Zolo, and Michael Douglas is down on the wharf trying to keep the gator from getting away. And so, they set up this situation of, is he going to scale the wall like a Douglas Fairbanks move and save her from Zolo? Or is he going to keep, fighting this, gator trying to get the jewel back? And of course, in the end, he does the right thing. But what I like about the movie is he gets to the top of the tower, and instead we see her kill Corazon.
Yeah.
I guess she throws him into the alligator pit.
Yeah.
Well, no, he stumbles into the alligator pit.
Yeah, it's like a long sequence. A lot of things that happened in the very first thing with Angelina in the story that she wrote is kind of repeated in her scene with Zolo.
Exactly. Yeah. She basically enacts like one of her own novels.
Yeah.
And but so what I love is that she's not a damsel in distress. She actually does the killing. Yeah. She saves herself. Mm-hmm. So it's pretty great. Yeah, Michael Douglas has to, then, he kind of proves that he is he's not heartless. Yeah. But she didn't need him, which is great. Then the film cuts to it turns out she writes this all up into a novel. Her next novel is Romancing the Stone, and she essentially novelizes the story of her adventure in Colombia. But she, of course, writes a happy ending for herself, where Jack, who is Michael Douglas, goes off with her and they sail around the world. Of course, when we see her, she is in her publisher's office. There's no Jack to be found. She's gone back to her normal life.
Because he went back for the jewel. He leaves her and goes to search for the jewel. As she is walking home with a bag of groceries down the streets of Manhattan. Also, her hair is down. She's walking by all these hucksters.
Yeah.
Before, she was like, when she was this mousy nerd, she was like, oh, I don't know what to do around these. And here she just walks past them like, yeah.
Oh, no, there's definitely a change in her demeanor where she is not as mousy as she was in the beginning. Like, as you say, her hair is always down now.
It's like the Michelle Pfeiffer Catwoman transformation.
A little bit, yeah. So, she's going back into her apartment building, and pulled up in front of the building is, of course, a sailboat on a truck. Yeah. And who is on the sailboat? But it's Michael Douglas wearing alligator skin boots. Which, fair enough.
That was a fun.
I think that's more than fair. And they decide to, sail off around the world together. And they start off just by sailing down a street in Manhattan on a truck. And let me tell you,
clearest street.
I have never seen New York have a street that clear. We were just there last weekend, and you almost got hit twice just walking across the street. Although part of that was your own fault.
Probably during COVID, there was not like a street this clear.
No, even during COVID. Like, I've never seen a street in Manhattan with no cars on it like this. I mean, it was,
It's amazing.
But so that is Romancing the Stone, which, was a blast. Mm-hmm. Once you get past, the dicey elements of, hey, we're in this other country, colonialism. Yes, that is all very much part of it, and that is worth, criticizing. But once you get past that element, it is actually a really fun adventure story. And I still don't understand Michael Douglas's appeal. Although I liked him when he was all scuzzy and in the jungle. I'm like, okay, I'd at least hang out with this dude.
I see. For me, part of his appeal is that he isn't those things. Like he keeps trying to be like a leading man type guy, and I feel like the movies where it works for him is where where like it's so obvious that he's not, that it's, I don't know.
Well,
there's something funny about it.
He has the strongest boomer energy.
Oh yeah.
Of any guy of that generation that I can think of. Mm-hmm. Like, he just seems to be the perfect embodiment of a certain...
It's very Billy Joel.
Yes!
There's a very Billy Joel energy about him.
Yeah, totally. Oh my God.
Cranky, entitled.
Yeah. Ooh, yikes. But I liked this. This was a lot of fun. You can definitely see where there is, we're piggybacking on the way that Raiders of the Lost Ark was reviving, adventure stories and like serials and pulp fiction type stuff.
See, a lot of people compare it to Raiders, but Raiders is very much Harrison Ford's film.
Oh, yeah.
But like, I think what this film is far more in like the African Queen.
Yeah.
And then later the Mummy.
Uh-huh.
Where it's like the male and female stars are on equal footing.
Yes.
And that's what makes it work, kind of.
Dude, I wish I had thought of the African Queen. Oh man, that's yeah.
I read it in an article. Like,
okay.
It, but yeah.
Yeah, but that's a good movie.
I'm not that smart. I guess the article I was reading, it was talking about how like there should be more romantic adventure comedies.
There should.
And it's just like it comes back every now and then and goes away. And so it came back with The Mummy, and then recently they just had that Lost City movie.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Which has a lot of elements of Romancing the Stone, but kind of mixes it up and like fixes certain things.
Oh, cool. Okay.
So it's not like a straight remake or anything, but there is a romance novelist, and there's
Channing Tatum.
Yeah,
I kind of want to see The Lost City.
Yeah,
it looks like I'm not.
And it's got Sandra
art.
Bullock, who I always sort of like.
So that was Romancing the Stone, starring Michael Douglas, Kathleen Turner, and Danny DeVito, and directed by Robert Zemeckis. You can follow us on social media. We are Mary VS Movies on Twitter, and we are maryvsmovies@gmail.com. Please write to us with any comments, questions, complaints, or suggestions. We would love to hear from you. We've gotten lots of great ideas recently from a listener who has sent us a whole bunch of movies to watch. That would be Bob. So thank you for that, Bob, very much. Nope, not that Bob. Bob Sellers. Oh, okay. We are available on all of the major platforms. We are. What are you looking for? Oh, no. We're not going to flip a coin. I have a very specific movie in mind for the next week. I'm sorry. I have a very specific movie in mind. You'll understand. You'll like this when I tell you what it is. Anyway, we are available on all the major platforms. We are on Apple Podcasts, where you can rate and review us, and we would love it if you did. We are on Stitcher. We are on, Google Play. I guess it's Google Play. You can get our RSS feed and plug it into whatever your podcatching system is over at Libsyn. So just check out our Twitter handle for that. Next week...
Blood of Heroes.
It is not. What? What is Blood of Heroes?
Rutger Hauer. Is it Joan Chen? I forget.
I don't know. Oh, I guess we'll have to watch that at some point.
Yeah.
I do remember you bringing that up now. No. I actually have a very specific movie in mind.
What?
The Long Good Friday.
Oh, what's that?
That, because I'm pretty sure next week is Good Friday. It's not a religious movie.
I thought we just passed Good Friday.
No. Oh, you don't know what Easter is, do you?
No.
No.
This was okay Friday. I don't know.
It was a perfectly adequate Friday. Next week is actually, I think, Holy Week. And so the timing works out really well. The Long Good Friday is a British crime drama starring Bob Hoskins.
Oh, that's right.
Right.
We've talked about that before.
I've wanted to watch this movie for a couple of years. It's over on Criterion. So that's what our next episode is going to be. And then after that, I'll start getting back into, hey, let's pick films type thing. So sorry, you don't get to flip a coin this week.
Oh, well.
But so next week it will be the Long Good Friday.
I think I'm like 50% at catching the coin or not.
No, that is too high. You are not at 50%.
I think I'm at 50% personally.
Honey, I have seen you catch that coin once.
I want to do some research on this.
Do you? All right. Well, until next time.
Odio, or Americanos. I spit on them. Patooey, I hate Americanos. They're scum.